Why, hello. Stevie Coyle here, Mighty Fine Guitars, Friday noontime webcast. It's in January sometime, the 24th. This is the Friday noontime webcast where I feature usually a single guitar. This week it's going to be a Collings OM2H. And then I'll bounce this over to Instagram and to YouTube as well. But welcome, come on in. Let me see if anybody's signed on yet. It's a little startling because I usually don't start really very close to noon for the noontime webcast at all, but a stop clock is right twice a day or vice versa, something like that. So come on in, everybody. Today the guitar in question is this lovely, without that, it's kind of the mini pearl approach to showing guitars. Yeah, put the tuner on there. It's a Collings from outside of Austin, Texas. A Collings OM, so it's the Martin designation, as many of the guitars in Mighty Fine Guitars are Martin designation. They've kind of become standard because they've been around since the 1830s. So their designations, OM is about this size. It's generally speaking, the second biggest guitar in a line. Now yes, there's something in between the Dreadnought, the big boy in Martin parlance, and this triple OM size. Same size body, different size scale length and nut width. Have I lost you already? Oh, I'm so sorry. This is not a parlor guitar. Now, in a lot of people's minds, a parlor guitar is anything smaller than a Dreadnought. And for a lot of people, a parlor guitar isn't really a guitar. If it ain't a Dreadnought, it ain't a guitar. And I felt that way myself for many years, and then I played an OM. I played a quadruple O, actually. I had a Martin quadruple O, which is a size in between this and the bigger Dreadnought. Getting so esoteric so quickly. But that guitar is not in general circulation the same way that OMs and triple O's are. So all of which is to say, a very comfortable guitar. Kind of as my pal Eric Schoenberg puts it, the do-it-all great guitar. The OM size guitar, big enough to get bass and volume, but a narrow enough waist so that it sits low enough in your lap that you can actually play it while sitting on the couch watching Netflix or sports. Which, let's face it, is where a lot of music gets played these days. Now this, go to the Collings website, collingsguitars.com, and you'll see that they make distinctions that I have not seen other makers make. They'll tell you the difference in their ears and in their ethos between a traditional style OM and what they call a straight ahead OM. The straight ahead OM has a little more shimmer. The traditional OM is built a little bit looser so that it has a little more bottom, a little more top. This one's really focused. This is really a finger-picking guitar. And it's got what I think a lot of people would call that modern sound. Lots of shimmer, lots of overtones in the high end, and the high mids and the high end, and the sibilants, part of the term. Lots of sustain because there's lots of overtones. Pardon me. What a lovely guitar. Plays real easy. It's super comfortable in the lap. This is the OM. So this is 1 3/4 across the nut and long scale. And I'll just leave it at that because I've gotten esoteric enough for one video. Let's see who's here. Hi, Everett. Everett's here. Don Baker is here. Very good. Hi, John Reynolds. Good to see you as well. Is a Martin M38 considered an OM or a quadruple O? Everett, nobody should know this, but I do. Because I had an M36, which is the first cousin. It's kind of the junior model of the M38. I had an M36, and it is a quadruple O. And there was, I believe, a Jorma Kaukonen, you should pardon the expression, quadruple O guitar that was an M38, I believe, Jorma Kaukonen signature model. Yes, Gary, very nice Collings. It's in great shape, too. Now, specs on this thing, let me read you out a couple of specs here. This is the OM2, so it's moderately fancy. It's not like an OM1 or an OM3 that are on either side of the fancy scale. It's a Sitka spruce top, East Indian rosewood back and sides. Neck is Honduran mahogany. Body binding is Ivoroid with herringbone. That's the H. It's herringbone purfling. I got to tell you a little story about herringbone and Collings. The Collings company, located in Austin, we took the tour. I was with a band that took the tour there, and they took us all around. It was really fascinating. Fellow that ran the tour, Steve McCrary, what a saint, what a great guy. And then he said, "Follow me, boys, we're going upstairs." So we went up to this kind of dusty attic and started playing guitars. He was whipping guitars out of cases and said, "Here, play this one, play this one, play this one." We said, "Steve, these are great. Why are we playing these?" He said, "Well, we'd like to have the Waybacks playing Collingses on stage. So if there's anything here that you really love, we could offer you a hell of a deal because these are seconds. There's something slightly wrong with all of these." And I was playing something akin to this. And I said, what's unacceptable about this? Why could you not send this out to your dealers? And he took it and he said, "Oh, yeah." And he had a peer at it. He said, "Oh, yeah. This one little arm of the herringbone right here is off axis. It didn't turn out right." And I said, "For that? You can't send this out to your retailers?" "Oh, no, Bill would never let us do that." As it turns out that day, there was nothing I absolutely fell in love with, nor the other guitarist. But a couple of weeks later, got a call from Steve, back in the days when people, made phone calls. He said, "This is Steve McCrary." I said, "Hi, Steve McCrary, what do you know?" He said, "Well, we had the guitar you were interested in here," because he'd asked us. He'd said, "You're not particularly interested in any of these." He said, what would you like? I said, I would like a 12-fret triple O, because that's a real finger-picking monster machine. Finger pickers like myself tend to prefer, although depends on the guitar, to prefer for finger picking having the bridge be in the middle of the lower bout, and that's what happens on a guitar where the guitar joins the body at the 12th fret. So I said, "I'd love a 12-fret triple O." He said, "Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you. I'll let you know if we turn one up." He called me a couple of weeks later and said, "We had a guitar that you would be interested in here. I just had forgotten all about it because it was hanging over the desk where the fella selects the wood for the guitars. And we had an accident with it. Somebody had put a hole in the back of it with a drill or something. And we'd kind of learned to look past it. We had forgotten it was there." He said, "But we put a new back on it and refinished it, and it plays great. Can I send it to you?" Thought I died and gone to heaven. I said, "Yes, but is that a trick question?" "Yes, send it to me." So he did, and I ended up buying that guitar for a lovely discount. Wonderful guitar that I parted company with only when my Alpha guitar came along, the Alan Perlman. The Alan Perlman Style 6 came along, and I had to have it. And I had to part with the Collings to get that guitar. But as expensive as that Perlman guitar was, and I'm going to show you I have showed you a Perlman here in past weeks, and I'll show you again in a week or two because it's back and better than ever. In order to get the Perlman guitar, I had to part with the Collings guitar. And but as expensive as that Perlman guitar was, it has saved me so much money. Because, kids, I'm in harm's way here. Sitting here amongst all these fabulous guitars. I play and I go, "Oh my gosh, this thing is fantastic." I go home and play my guitar and think, "Oh, there you are. There's my guitar. There's the precious." So... See, this is the thing about an OM. I agree with Eric Schoenberg that the OM does everything really great. You can pick it, you can finger pick it, you can strum it, you can single note it. It's big enough to make a lot of noise, so if you're in a string band with instruments that are invariably louder than guitars, mandolins, banjos, fiddles, basses arguably quieter than guitars. But sometimes if you're playing, especially if you're playing acoustically around a single mic, the way folks have done for the past 20 years or so, you need something that's going to stand up. But not everybody fits around a dreadnought. We all had to have dreadnoughts back then, because that's what we saw on the covers of albums. And we had to have them too. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young had dreadnoughts. Everybody had dreadnoughts. So we had to have them. And a lot of people bring guitars in here and say, you know what, I never really fit around this guitar. Let's sell it to somebody who does fit around it. So for young folks and folks that have not gotten wider as they've gotten older, dreadnoughts are lovely. There's nothing like a dreadnought, but there's things that are kind of like a dreadnought and a whole lot more easy to play. And that is a first-line consideration, kids. I contend that a first-line consideration for playing guitar, for owning a guitar, is it comfortable? Will you play it? Will you do whatever it takes to play it? Take it off the stand, ideally, or take it off a wall hanger, ideally, absent little kids or big dogs. That's the best, because then you just grab it and play. But if you keep it in a case, in a closet, in the spare bedroom when the kids have gone off to college kind of thing, what about when you finally do all that and you sit down and you say, this thing is so big, the waist is so wide, it's pushing the guitar way up on my lap. The body is really thick. This is barely 4 inches across, just a little over 4 inches across. I've got to reach around a dreadnought to do all of that stuff. It's not going to be a satisfying experience, and you will play less. So if you want to play more, consider getting the do-it-all great guitar, the Swiss Army knife guitar, as Eric Schoenberg phrased it, I think, at one point. That, yes, the OM or triple O size. Now, an OM, perhaps you've heard me say this before. Have a cup of coffee if you've heard this already. An OM differs from a triple O. The body size is the same. Dimensions of the body are the same. A classic triple O is going to be short scale, 24.9 from nut to saddle, and have a narrower fingerboard, 1 11/16 across the nut. A typical classic OM is going to have long scale, 25.4 inches or thereabouts, and 1 3/4. So OMs are bigger at the nut. I should complete the thought. OMs are slightly bigger than triple O's, but the body size is the same. And advantage-wise, people that do drop tunings or play hard or strum hard will probably like an OM better because it serves those purposes for reasons we don't need to get into right now. If you're a blues person, you might like a triple O better because the short scale means the strings are going to be easier to bend. That's the short distinction between the OM and the triple O. You're welcome. Hey, Chris. Hey, Lewis. Hey, Mark. There you go. Good. Thanks for stopping in. And you know what, folks? You can always, and I'd sure appreciate it, if you would consider sharing this in the Facebook sense of the word with folks on your timeline, either now or later, because these things live forever on Facebook, apparently. However long forever is nowadays, we don't know. But these things will live online here on Facebook. And like I said, I bounce these over to Instagram where they evaporate eventually, I think. But then over to YouTube. The YouTube channel is really where things are kind of happening. Stevie Coyle Music, all one term, just all mashed together at YouTube over there. Yeah, see, this one you can really dig in, which I encourage. Folks, when you come into a guitar shop like mine, don't feel bad about actually playing the guitars at a level where you can hear what that guitar does. Below a certain volume and attack threshold, guitars sound identical. They all sound like a guitar, not that guitar. There's a threshold, I contend. There's a threshold at which that guitar takes on its own personality. And you've kind of got to play that guitar at that level. Doesn't mean you have to thrash the guitar, don't do that. But definitely find where the guitar activates. Down here, it sounds lovely, but it doesn't sound like itself. Yeah, there we go. Right around there is the threshold. true. The guitar intonates really, really nicely. Totally comfortable to play, really pretty. Sitka spruce on the top. East Indian rosewood on the back and sides with a nice center strip. It's one of the Style 2 features, the OM2. That's part of the 2-ness of it. It's lovely. Waverly open back tuners, nickel plated tuners. And there you are. Let me see if there are any questions. It is a lovely sounding instrument. I agree completely, Everett. Terrific. Hey there, Bunny. Thank you very much. I think Bunny is saying that she forwarded this, she shared this, as I will be sharing her Friday, 3 for Friday. Bunny, tout your 1 o'clock West Coast, 4 o'clock, I think, East Coast. Tout your typical weekly Facebook appearance here, please. Never hesitate. Bunny's got a great show where she tells you all about 3 songs that she does and does the backstory on them as well as playing them really beautifully. So I'd say when you're done here, head on over to Bunny Barnes. She's right there. Hi, Bunny. You know what, folks? I happen to know the guy that owns this instrument. Fairly low mileage on it. So, as I love saying, because it's frequently true, this is the worst it will ever sound. It sounds great as it is, but it's going to grow. Collingses tend to grow when they get lots of harder play. Speaking of which, let me ask you folks. I have had in the shop a tone right. One of them little vibrator boxes that sits inside the nest of strings here and vibrates the top at a particular frequency. There's another one out there called Dr. Eyeball's Tone Traveler or some such thing, where you can dial in the frequency that you're searching for that activates the top best. Anybody out there have any experience with that one? Like I say, I've had good luck with the tone right, and I'm a believer in those devices that activate the top. I may have told you. The fellow who painted this shot, this lovely green for me, is an old high school pal of mine, college pal of mine. And in college there, he had a great stereo system. Some of us had good stereo systems. He had a great one. Macintosh speakers, these electrostatic speakers called Magnaplanar. By electrostatic, I mean that they were 6 feet tall, about this wide, and about that deep. And they sounded fantastic. And we used to pay him 6 packs of bad beer to hang our guitars on coat hangers in front of his speakers while he was playing them at high volume, which happened quite a lot in his apartment, as I recall. So I've been a believer in that sort of thing since then. Eric Schoenberg, we were just talking about him, is a firm believer in the tone right or similar systems where the top vibrates. Larry Cragg, a wonderful repairman over in Marin, and technician, guitar tech, and pedal steel player for, among others, Neil Young. Perhaps you've heard of him. He's a great believer in vibration devices as well. In fact, when I lived in Marin, I'd have some little thing done to my guitar. I needed a little repair here and there, a little fret work or something. He said, well, Stevie, I did the thing you asked me to do, but I also gave you an hour of the treatment for free. I said, okay, Larry, what's the treatment? Oh, can't tell you, sorry. Proprietary system. But I'm convinced it has something to do with vibration, and doggone if he wasn't right, that when I got that guitar back, it sounded better because for the treatment, whatever it was about vibration. So, I don't know if anybody has the exact science on it these days at all, but a guitar that gets played a lot and vibrated a lot sounds better. There's something that happens. The thing knits together, starts vibrating sympathetically. I don't know. There's some mojo involved, but it's real stuff, whatever it is. So if anybody has any experience in particular with the Tone Traveler, let me know. It's quite a little investment for a simple little guitar shop like mine, but I'm thinking of getting one, So let me play a little something, and then I'll send you on your way. And thank you for tuning in. And once again, from Bristol, UK, Jim Tigwell, you win, hands down. So far, I think you win the faraway prize. Vincey, hello. Very good. Oh, do you know Everett? Funny you mentioned the microphone I'm using. It's called the Blue. The model is the Blue by no, the model is the Raspberry by a company called Blue. Blue makes the Yeti that you see a lot. Makes several models. This one is a little tough to find, and here I'll lift it very gently so you can see it a little better. That's what it looks like, and it's a powered microphone, so it's an electret condenser that gets its power from the iPhone that I'm running for my camera, and it seems to be a system that works pretty doggone well if I haven't disconnected it utterly here. And it's just kind of plug and play. It sounds pretty good, I think. Tell me what you think. Power. Collings, Austin, Texas. This is an OM2H for herringbone. Custom. Not exactly sure what the custom features are on it, but it's quite fabulous. Going to be in the mid-4s. 4,500 is the asking on it at the moment. If I didn't already have the Precious, I'd be sorely tempted. Come on in and play it. If there's anything in the shop that you know I have by looking at the website that you'd like a little demo like this on, just let me know. It's easy to set this up and do a little Zoom session. Or better yet, if you still have Skype, Skype has better sound than Zoom. Even with Zoom's, for musicians only setting, Skype still has better sound because it's peer-to-peer. It's not going through millions of miles of copper wire to get from one place to the other. It's a much tighter connection, and the sound tends to be better on Skype. Remember Skype? Zoom. I had never heard of Zoom one day, and then the pandemic hit, and the next day I was doing 6 lessons on Zoom. So there's Zoom, FaceTime, any of those are workable to show you any guitars in the shop that you'd like to see. And I ship. And I ship with a whatever you need, 48-hour, 72-hour kind of return policy. If it's not love, just ship it back the same way I shipped it to you and pay shipping both ways, and Bob's your uncle. Whatever the hell that means. All right. I think next week involves a, what's the one that came in that I need to feature for you? Oh, nothing too fancy, but a really cool guitar. Unless something else comes in, it's going to be an Eric Clapton 0028, Martin 0028 EC, the Eric Clapton model. Built very much after that guitar he played on the Unplugged album, and kind of before we realized everything we've realized recently about Eric Clapton. Still great music, but there you are. All right. I've said at least enough, and I hope to see you next week. Do leave your comments and questions down below here. Elk Grove, Siberia? No, sorry, Dale. Not falling for that. Jim Tigwell is still winning. All right. Yes, Don. Yummy. Precisely. All right. I'll answer. Post your questions down below. I'm going to get off the line here. I'll answer them best I can. And look for this same video always over at the Mighty Fine Guitars Facebook page if you want to point people there. Also over to Instagram, stevie.coyle, and then to Stevie Coyle Music, all one term, at YouTube. So, with all that in mind, hang tough, folks. I'll see you down the road. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.